Welcome to KJ Today, your place for the positive vibes of pop culture, people to know, and pets. And I am very excited to not only have C. Thomas Howell here with me right now, but to share with you that Tommy, I can call you Tommy, right? Is that
Everybody
okay?
calls me Tommy, yeah.
All right. Tommy is coming to Indianapolis in just a couple of days, right?
Exactly. We're going to screen The Outsiders and have a Q&A and a meet and greet. We'll be able to take photos with people that show up and sign stuff, and we'll have a good time.
So you're coming to one of my favorite places. I don't know if you've ever been to Indianapolis, but the Irvington area it's so delightful, and the Irving Theater where you're going to be is a fabulous place. I hope you get a little bit of time to go into the neighborhood. I don't know, when you're doing these tours, do you get to check out the cities that you're in at all, Tommy?
It varies. This is a quick trip this time, and I have not spent a lot of time in Indianapolis, but the short amount of time that I have been there has been wonderful, and I look forward to meeting some new friends and hanging out, and eventually someday spending a lot more time there.
Well, I was talking with some of the followers in the last week or so as we've been getting excited about you coming, and the memories that so many of us have of The Outsiders is, one, it was like one of the coolest things you got to do in school, right? Like the book was cool, and then you got to roll the TV into the classroom and watch the movie. And I know I'm dating myself by saying that, but for so many of us, it has continued to be near and dear to us. And I would imagine for you to be able to continue to meet people who are sharing those stories of how important the movie was to them and how it still resonates today. Do you ever get tired of talking about The Outsiders?
Actually, the opposite. My wife and I started a foundation called the Stay Gold Foundation, which we use as a platform to reach out to young kids, students, teachers, and talk about the importance of literacy today. The Outsiders was written by S.E. Hinton when she was 16 years old. And I think a lot of kids focus way too much on trying to please other people and worrying about what other people think, instead of setting that bar high for themselves and achieving their own goals, even at a young age. Storytelling is something that is going away. The attention spans of the kids, in particularly, they don't want to read a book. They don't want to watch a movie. They'd rather just swipe left on TikTok. A beginning and a middle and an end doesn't matter to any of us anymore. We just want to see that 15-second clip, and, we'll swipe left for 3 hours, but God forbid we sit down and read a book or put our devices down and have a real conversation. So The Outsiders is a platform for me to get out and really connect with people and share my perspective on what it was like to be on a set with people like Tom Cruise and Matt Dillon and Francis Ford Coppola and Ralph Macchio. I mean, so many careers were started on that set. And the book is required reading in 75% of the schools across America. So every year I get a new batch of young kids who are crying because Johnny Cade is dead. And then they realize Ponyboy's 57 and they really start crying. And it's just a great, for me, the people come to see me, but I go to see them. And there's an energetic exchange that takes place that's moving for 3-4 generations. I've seen meemaws and mamas and young mothers and babies all come up together. And I must have seen 1 million Stay Gold tattoos in my day. So it's incredible, the stories that I hear from the different people as I travel around the country who've been affected by this book and this movie, and how much it means to them. And it's an opportunity for people to come together and spend time with their family and enjoy something that is proven to be worthy over the years. You're not going to get blindsided by an agenda. You're not going to be disappointed by, the same old boring stuff that we see churned out of the studios time and time again. And it's a chance for the kids to connect with Ponyboy and hear some stories about the making of the film, and take a picture and ask some questions. So it's a good time for all.
When you talk about it, it's such I mean, it's just such an amazing feat that this is still studied. That, like you said, 75% of classrooms are still putting the outsiders in front of generation after generation. When you think about, going back to being on set, being young Tommy, uh, you know, if you could tell him right now, like, this is not just an acting gig, this is not just a career, this is going to change people's lives. I mean, what would he think of what is happening right now?
Well, we knew it was special back then, but we didn't know it would become a part of, America's pop culture. It's surpassed my expectations. And, I loved the book when I was a young boy. And I've read it recently and it still holds up. It's phenomenally written. There's it's an intricate story with wonderful characters delicately woven through those pages. Whether you're a fan of Dallas Winston or Ponyboy or a Soch, it doesn't matter what side of the tracks you come from. There's a character for everybody in this piece. So it's extremely relatable. And I think something that touches the audience deepest is the innocence of these quote unquote hoodlums or tough guys that are struggling to survive, but take the time to recognize a sunset or a poem or something beautiful in an ugly world. And I think that's what kids struggle with today. And when they have that example set for them right in front of their eyes, they reach out and they embrace it and they cling to it. And it's a special thing to see. And I haven't gotten bored yet. It's been over 40 years. And I'm just grateful to have been a part of it.
Well, and you talk about, over 40 years, you haven't stopped working either. When, I brought up that you were going to be here, I mean, the amount of people that wanted to talk about, Criminal Minds, so many different things that you've done. Even had a few people, because, as you can see, I'm a huge superhero fan back here. And they were like, he's done some voices in Justice League. Like, you have had an amazing career. And is it for you? Is it still about that connection that you make when you have these different roles and you're acting? That it is the connection that you make with people, that you are impacting lives, that really keeps you going?
I don't really approach it that way because I'd be getting ahead of myself if I did that. I really. I love meeting people. I love challenging myself with new roles, different roles. Like you mentioned, George Foyet, the Reaper from Criminal Minds. I had never been offered a villain until I played that part. And of course, once I played that part, I was offered mostly villains. And that's kind of how Hollywood works. But for me, the joy really comes from making those personal discoveries on set, being vulnerable, trusting the process, and being prepared. But also, I kind of go by this credo, which is 100% committed and 110% unattached. So I go into something with ideas and I do the homework, but I let it all go. And 9 times out of 10, a much larger gift comes out of the work than I ever could have prepared if I trust that process. So it's really about working with good people. The writing on television today is for me personally better than most films. I mean, there was a time when there was a real stigma when TV actors were TV actors and film actors were film actors. And of course, today that doesn't exist anymore, thank God. Streaming is really what we have now. Most people don't go to the theater anymore. They stay home, and as they should. I mean, we've got these phenomenal home theaters today, and we don't have to leave the house. And for me, the opportunity to continue to grow as an artist, and learn from each project, and move on and be a better person. That's really what motivates me. The outcome of it, if people can connect to it, or they like it, or it's a fan favorite, is really something that's out of my control. But it's a beautiful thing when it does happen, and you can share those moments with people. And there's so many Criminal Minds fans, so many ET fans. I was in The Amazing Spider-Man, and everybody loves Marvel and DC comics and films, and to be able to reach such a varied amount of people, and having done it my whole life. I've been doing it since I was 13 years old, and I'm constantly amazed at the reference point that people will come up to me with, whether they're yelling Wolverines or Stay Gold or, hey, what was it like working with Tommy Chong on Far Out, man? There's all kinds of people back, especially when I was younger, we didn't have devices. So people had magazines and films, and I was a big part of a lot of people's childhood, because the movement of movies about kids that were filmed with kids didn't happen until the 80s. I mean, we didn't have that in the 70s or the 60s. So I was a big part of that movement in the 80s. And therefore, here I am 57 years old now. And, there's a lot of people that come up to me and share stories with me about where they were when they saw Red Dawn or The Hitcher or Secret Admirer or The Outsiders or E.T. and how much it affected their lives. And that's really a beautiful moment that we get to exchange and share. And today it's so fleeting. I mean, movies come and go so quickly, and they're streaming, and maybe you see them, maybe you don't. You have so many different choices. But when I was a kid, we had 3 channels, and when a movie came out, it was a special event, and when you were a part of a movie, it was a special event. Everything was a red carpet premiere, and a lot of money went into the distribution. And today, you don't know if, when you're a part of something, if it's going to even be seen. So when you are a part of something that is successful, it just makes it all sort of worthwhile and much more appreciative. So, and on top of that, it's just great, because really, going from project to project and working with phenomenal people, it builds character. It teaches me things as an artist, and that's really why I do it.
I want to talk a little bit about your home life, because, I'm the kitty correspondent for Pet Pals TV as well. And so, as soon as I said you were going to be on here, I had Stephanie was like, ask him if he's a cat person. And I know, you have, you've got a big love of animals, and that's a big part of when you're not touring and meeting fans and working, you are at home with nature, right?
Well, we have a ranch in Texas. My wife and I have horses and cats and dogs and chickens and the whole thing. But, Waylon is our little cavapoo, and he goes everywhere with us. No matter where we go, he travels on airplanes, boats, trains, cars.
Wow.
And he's really the best. But, I was raised on a ranch, and the responsibility that comes with taking care of animals and nurturing animals and being a part of that experience is a wonderful way to grow up. You know, it tends to make everything else a lot easier. When you know you got to get home and make sure the horses have water or food, or the cows have the proper medical attention that they need, or, you know, whatever it is that you're dealing with. You know, a lot of people don't understand the value that brings. And for me, it just made everything else a lot easier growing up that way. And my father, you know, I was basically raised by a cowboy to be a cowboy. And my father was a professional bull rider for 10 years before he became a stuntman. And of course, that's how I got into the business. But I never lost that love for ranch life and what it takes to live that way. You know, ranchers and farmers and those type of people are just a salt of the earth type of people, and reliable.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a different experience than the Hollywood life, and it keeps me grounded.
Yeah. I grew up on a farm, and my job was, 4:00 in the morning, get up and feed the calves, bottle feed them, and take care of the cats, which, my mom joked if I was gonna say kitty before I said mama, at least I made this, living out of being a kitty correspondent. So I know Brandy actually commented, so I need to know the names of your cats, and are they outdoor cats? Are they kind of serving?
They come and go. They're free to do what they want. You know, their names are Butch and Sundance.
I love it.
They're brothers. You know, I just, all our animals have the freedom to be able to live the life that they want to live. We let our chickens out and they go back in at night. We let our cats out, they come back in at night. The same with the horses. They go, we turn them out in the pasture, we put them in the barn at night, and everybody has a lifestyle that they love and appreciate. At least I think so. And the only one that we don't really let run loose is little Waylon, because God knows my wife would, probably kill me if anything ever happened to that little guy. So we keep a pretty close eye on him. But I wouldn't mind being an animal on my ranch. They have a pretty good life.
Right? That's what I say. I wouldn't mind coming back and being a cat in this household. So I want to remind everyone, Thursday night is the night. So we can go to the Irving Theater, 8:00 showtime. You can ask all of your questions for Tommy, as I've had the privilege of doing so this morning. And I did want to make sure people know, if for some reason they can't make the showing, or if they are just finding out about your foundation, because it's near and dear to many of us. And I know I've got some teachers that are watching today. How can they get involved in helping you make an impact with the Stay Gold Foundation?
You can go to my website. The Stay Gold Foundation website is currently under construction, but you can go to TommyHowellMusic.com. There are links there. If you would like to come by and just be a part of the meet and greet, you're welcome to do that. If you want to be a part of the entire program and watch the film and be a part of the Q&A, you can find the ticket link at TommyHowellMusic.com. And that's Thursday night at the Irving Theater in Indianapolis. And we invite all of you, and we'll wrap our arms around you and tell some stories and have a good time.
All right. And I'm going to ask one thing of you, Tommy, right? I mean, literally across the street from the Irving Theater is a little shop called Hampton and Company. My buddy Adam, he's one of the hardest working people I know, and his shop is a joy. It is an energy that you need to experience. So if you do nothing else while you're in Indianapolis, swing by and say hi to Adam at Hampton and Company. Hampton and Company.
Will do.
All right, man. Have a great time. Thank you so much for taking your time to be with me here today.
Well, I appreciate you, and everybody, from me to you, stay gold.